Good evening and welcome to round number 9 of the Korea Gaming League F1 2021 Esports Series. We are going to be racing today at Interlagos, but before that, let's look back at the drivers' standings. We have Ladmine out in first. That is incorrect. Let me just update that quickly, please. Apologies for that. Unfortunately, we have had technical issues here today. So, at the top of the table, we have Humid winning the last race and going back to the head of the driver's standings, ahead of Ladmine. Sebi in third place, KQ Microstatic climbing up to fourth, and Moss in fifth. That happened after last week with an interesting race in Russia under mixed conditions, and all sorts of very wonderful things happened there, and not so wonderful in the case of those who DNF'd. As far as the team standings are concerned, this is how they stand. So McLaren still leading the championship up at the top with 183 points, Mercedes in second with 155, Haas in third, 121, Ferrari in fourth, 118, and Red Bull in fifth with 90 points. Behind them, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Williams, and Alpine, the only change there being Alfa Romeo going above AlphaTauri by 2 points. So, how did they get there? We had quite an interesting race last week, as I said. So after quali, we had KQ Microstatic starting in first place with a time of 1:31.215, only 19 thousandths ahead of Ladmine, and Sebi very close behind, 50 thousandths behind Lad. Humid came up in fourth, and IMTJ in fifth, Java sixth, Marcus seventh, Potty eighth, Michael Furry ninth, and Sketchy Dude in 10th. So we had a pretty good start to the race with the top four, KQ Microstatic, Ladmine, Sebi, and Humid, going all four getting very good starts, getting to turn 2 almost 4 wide, and unfortunately 4 wide into turn 2 at Russia just is never going to work, and unfortunately KQ Microstatic was the one that got caught out as he got turned in on. That dropped him down to 8th position before turn 4, and in turn 5 he had contact with Lion Lamb, his teammate, and that spun him out, gave him damage, and put him at the back of the pack. Once that had happened, the race progressed fairly well. Quinton Berry was the first of our safety car retirements, and that was coming onto the second DRS zone. He spun out, crashed, safety car came out, and that was the first of many. Kixie was the next safety car retirement. No real incidents under the safety car, thank goodness. Jarvis was the third safety car, and that was going into the final chicane. That was safety car number 3, and that's when everything changed. The rain started coming down. In the middle of safety car number 3, Ladmine, Humid, and pretty much everyone ducked into the pits to try and get on those intermediates, but Ladmine went just a little bit too early and then spun as he came around that corner, and it led to him unfortunately having a situation where he was not in the pit lane as the timer ran out. You're allowed to pass the safety car to go into the pit lane, but there is a timer that if you don't get back behind the safety car before that or into the pit lane, if that expires, you get a straight up disqualification, and that's unfortunately what happened to Ladmine. So that opened up the race entirely with the rain and Ladmine's disqualification, and we had a mad rush for the next couple of laps, but it wasn't going to be all the way to the end, because unfortunately we had Marcus crash as well, and that was the fourth and final safety car, resuming the race 2 laps before the end, and that led to the standings as they finished. That is there. So as you can see, We had Sebi coming up in first. That was ahead of Humid purely on based on Humid's penalty. Humid in second, KQ Microstatic in third, Sketchy Dude in fourth, Michael Free in fifth. A good performance by Lion Lamb in sixth. Unfortunately, he did get a penalty in this race, and that led to him getting a race ban for this particular race, the one in Interlagos. So you will not see him on the track today, as well as Marcus has also gotten picked up a race ban, but that one has been put back, and he will not be joining us for the last 3 races of the season. So a big hit to his season, but unfortunately he was unsure of being able to attend to the last of the season, and this is the last race that he is going to be able to join us for sure. So Lion Lamb, as I said, out. There is IMTJ is sitting in for him today. We also have Sketchy Dude sitting in the Alpine, replacing one of the drivers that we have lost. And finally, we have Porti sitting in the Alfa Romeo to replace another driver, Afriki, who has not been able to make it. Alrighty, so on to the race then, the quali. The guys are already on track, so let's go join them and see what they can do. Alrighty, so we've got a couple of people already set laps. We've got that Sketchy Dude sitting up in first place with a 107.674. Ladmine in second, 108.105. Already, and Humid in third, 108.228. So those guys already fighting each other on track, with no love lost between the two of them, I am sure, and trying to push each other as hard as they possibly can. Moss is currently sitting in 5th position. We're following him around on the slow lap. KQ in 6th on the medium tires. So KQ obviously trying to put together a proper race strategy rather than a fast qualifying time, although he's not doing too badly, doing both. G-Funk in 7th. Kixie in 8th. KQ goes up a position. Sebi then goes up to 5th place with a 108.285. So the guys finishing their laps and getting around as quickly as they possibly can. So we're going to follow Aphrodox around for now, who has actually just spun somewhere, and that looks like bits of wings sprayed all over the place. So we're not going to follow Aphrodox, although he was out on an outlap. So instead, let's follow Michael Faree around as he goes onto his outlap and hopefully gets started on his flying lap shortly. Apologies for the sound issue, hopefully that fixes that. Things are going great today. So obviously Interlagos is one of the classic tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. It is a very windy track with a lot of elevation changes. We'll do our track intro between quali and the race so that you guys can watch the rest of the quali. It looks like we have Madness in the Alpine having spun out on the final little section of the track. Michael Faree getting onto the second DRS zone, 2 DRS zones here. Yes, 2 DRS zones, I'm pretty sure. I can't tell for sure because of the yellow flags. Michael doing a good job in the first sector, heading up through the second sector. This is the windy one and a very iconic part of the track. Obviously, if you guys have been watching Formula 1 for a while, you will know this is the the first time Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon came together. Albon doing very well in that race and unfortunately coming together around that corner with Lewis Hamilton. Second time, obviously, Austria the following year. So Michael doing fairly well on this lap, 1.023 seconds ahead at the end of his second sector. So let's see what he can do down this pit stretch. There is the second DRS zone, DRS wide open, so it is down the pit straight. You cut a lot of the pit lane there, and Michael goes to second with a 107.826. So that is a good lap. However, Sketchy's lap was incredible apparently, since Michael has not been able to match it even with a little bit of track evolution. Let's follow Humid around next. Humid coming up on his next lap into the final section. So he is going into the Senna S's and down towards the back, well, what counts as the back straight here, down towards turn 4, where obviously Red Bull and Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton had their incident at the last time out here. Turn 4 and 5 taken as almost one, and heading into the windy section of Sector 2. This is not a good place to find traffic, and unfortunately that looks like what Humid is going to be finding. He will be feeling the dirty air from the traffic in front of him, as it looks like Sketchy may have just tried to get out of the way a little bit there. I think that's Sketchy. It must be Sketchy as it's an Alpine. There it is. It gets nicely out of the way, causing the yellow flags. Humid putting in a flyer. It sounded like a little bit of a traction problem there. Let's see what he can do as he comes into the final sector onto what counts as the pit straight. And he is cut a lot of the pit lane there. That is absolutely required to get a good time here, and as you can see, that puts him at the top of the timings with a 107.149. So that is the first time to beat Sketchy's, although not the last, as Landmine goes second with a 107.279 in the Mercedes. That is a very good lap as well. I'm sure Sketchy is going to push hard to try and get that top time back, and as you can see, he's going through turn 4. Not got a fuel light on, so that suggests that he definitely does have enough fuel for another flying lap. So let's see what he can do as he comes into the windy second sector. So, coming towards the end of the second sector, Sketchy is 0.030, 3 hundredths of a second up on his previous time. So let's see what he can do on this straight, whether he got a good enough exit out of the final corner onto the pit straight, crossing the line as close to the pit wall as possible, negative 47 thousandths of a second ahead of his previous time, and it's not quite enough to take him back to the top of the time. So Humid's time of a 107.149, sitting at the top with Landmine in second with a 107.279, Sketchy in third with a 107.627, Michael Free 107.811, I am TJ now, actually the one with the 107.811. He got in there as I changed across from the name to the time. Michael Free 107.826. I'm sure he would have wanted that 811 just to get up to 4th place. Moss in 6th, Venom 7th, Sebi in 8th, KQ Microstatic in 9th with a 108.332. That is unusual, as he has actually had the fastest time in quali over the last 2 sessions. So let's see if he manages to change that misfortune now. Goes across the line, goes 4th fastest with a 107.785. Not a bad lap, didn't cut as close to the pit lane as a lot of the others are doing. So I wonder if he lost a little bit of time there and maybe was trying to preserve his tires. But that is not as fast as he has shown himself to be in the last couple of rounds. Down in 9th and 10th, we have Sebi and G-Funk. Sebi also kind of out of position here, coming through the second sector, getting a little bit of traffic and dirty air as he comes through the second sector. We'll follow him through the rest of his lap. Kixie in 11th, Afrodox in 12th, Alicia in 13th, and Gur in 14th. Potty, Madness, and Marcus all retired, none of them with times, so they will line up at the back of the grid. Sebi coming onto the pit straight now. Looks like he's getting good run through there, cuts a good amount of the pit lane, getting a tow from his teammate G-Funk, who is the next onto a lap. So we'll follow G-Funk around now. Sebi goes up to third with that lap, so that tow obviously helping a little bit, although Sebi is quite fast to begin with. Although he generally tends to run a little bit more towards the race trim than quali trim. So his times in quali aren't necessarily as fast as everyone else, but he is rapid in the race. 4 minutes left to go on this session, and we have 9 people within the same second as such, and Venom less than a second off the top time as well. So this is a very good run by the guys out there. So the top 10 separated by just over 8/10 of a second. In fact, Moss running exactly 8/10 of a second behind the leader. That is how close these guys are running and how close they're running together. Obviously, with this being Interlagos, it is a shorter time, and you can see that with the 1:07 that they're getting. G-Funk now getting a massive tow from his teammate, but unfortunately he did have an invalidated lap, so he's going to have to go again, and it looks like he is going immediately again to get another lap. But no one currently sitting on the medium tires, and I don't think anyone's going to change that. So we don't need to worry about tires. Everyone in the top 10 are going to be starting on those soft tires unless miracles happen, which we saw over the weekend that they absolutely can. So G-Funk going into the windy second sector, and that is really unfortunate. Plowing into the Red Bull of Moss, that is not great. Aphrodox spinning off in the Senna S's as well. So one retirement that we didn't catch on screen, but Moss and G-Funk coming together in the windy second sector. G-Funk not looking like he's got any damage, so he was quite lucky there. Must have, all the shrapnel coming off those cars must have been for Moss, although G-Funk might have floor damage, which might be why we can't see it. We'll follow him around for one more lap and see what happens. Just a moment. So G-Funk is going back into the pits. Obviously, he feels like he does have a little bit more damage than he can safely race with. Sorry for the delay there, I just had to sort out a couple of small things on the admin side. Gur unfortunately went off as he was possibly prepping for a lap. No, it looks like he was on a lap, so that lap has been invalidated. Gur sitting in 14th position with a 1:10.271, so he will definitely be wanting to put in a better lap than that. Few guys, most people already out on laps, so we're going to follow Michael Faree around as he goes on his out lap and should gear up for the next lap. Well, he should get out of the way of KQ Microstatic, I think is the person behind him. Yes, it is indeed. No, it looks like he is going fast enough to not be getting in the way. So we should be about to see a whole bunch of shuffling here at the top as 6 seconds to go. Does Michael get across the line? It doesn't look like he's going to manage. He does not manage to get across the line in time to get another lap in. So this is probably going to be very close to the order that we start with. Humid's engine sounding a little unwell there, but that may just be a... Oh no, he is going into the pit lane. Pit lane here is very windy, as you saw, very quick, and you can speed into the pit lane very easily. So, as it stands, we have Humid up at top in pole position with a 107.149. The next is Ladmine, just behind 11 thousandths of a second, separating him from Humid. KQ Microstatic in third, a much better lap from him with that one that we followed him around on with a 189 behind the leader. Sketchy Dude 224 behind the leader, Venom 270, a good lap out of him. Sebi 356, as I said, his times in quali are generally not representative of his performance in the race. Michael Faree 397, I'm sure he'll be kicking himself. He is generally very quick in quali. IMTJ 5 tenths behind, so a good run by him as well. Afrodox 6 tenths, Kixie 7, Moss exactly 8 tenths behind, so satisfying to see. Even if that's not the ideal time. G-Funk 1.2 seconds and Alicia 2.4 seconds behind. Gur retired 14th, then Potty, Madness and Marcus behind. And we're back, and as you can see, it is raining in the pit lane. So that is going to be very interesting for the start of the race, especially, but also the race itself. Interlagos is not an easy track to race around in the wet. So as we wait for the drivers to load in, let's hope that we don't have too many incidents during this race, although I'm sure we will get our fair share of safety cars, especially with the windy second sector. 5 lights are on. A long wait this time, and away they go. Very slow start for everyone as they try and get to grips with the lack of traction in the wet. Humid definitely getting the best launch. Ladmine a little bit behind already, 5 tenths behind. Everyone seeming to get through the S's all right, so that is very good to see. A couple people trading places off the start. Oh, someone going very wide there. That is one of the Haas drivers. I believe that is G-Funk. But everyone getting through the Senna's S's all right and into turn 4 without any problems. That is great to see. So we might have a race on our hands, although KQ Microstatic is now going very slowly. I do believe he may have had a little bit of contact. It looks like no real damage to his end plates or anything like that, so if there is any damage, it is going to be very minor. Did a very good job of staying out of everyone's way as they got past a very safe rejoin, but that has put him at the very back of the pack, where he was running last week but ended up third, so don't count him out. G-Funk, Afrodox looks like he may have actually lost it around one of the corners. There he is over there, trying to get his car facing the right direction again. Sketchy Dude dropping lots of places as well. He must have had a moment coming out of that final real corner. So lots of drama on the first race, on the first lap already. So that is probably a sign of things to come. Let's hope that we have enough people finishing the race. G-Funk getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is not entirely surprising. The other thing you have to remember with the pit lane here is not only can you speed into it really easily, the other odd thing about it is you can actually go off track limits in the pit lane because of the way that it's set up, which can lead to some very interesting situations. So, yellow flag in Sector 2, that looks like it is Alicia in the Williams. It looks like she has lost a little bit of her front wing and struggling to get going again. Unfortunately, that is the end of Alicia's race as she ends up on the grass, wet tires, cold tires, and nowhere to go from there. That is really unfortunate for her. She has been having a good season so far, and this wet race has brought that to an end. And there is a virtual safety car, obviously, to get rid of the debris from Alicia's car, which can cause tire damage and wing damage to a lesser extent with simulation damage. So, Humid pulling out an incredible lead out in front with 2.2 seconds ahead of Ladmine. Sebi right behind Ladmine going into the center's S's, but Venom right on top of him as well. IMTJ in 5th with Kixie for company in 6th place. Michael Free in 7th, Moss in 8th. Gur in 9th and Marcus in 10th. Marcus quite close to the back of Gur, so that is probably likely to become quite relevant later on. Obviously there is no DRS in the wet, and so the guys and girls have to actually figure out how to race around here and pass with just the slipstreams. No one getting drive-throughs for the end of the VSC, so that's great to see. And we are racing again. Kixie right on top of TJ. They're going to the inside of the corner, but thinking better of fighting all the way through it. Probably for the best. That is quite a dangerous corner to try and pass through. It's not impossible, but it is very difficult. So, everyone getting around quite alright. Sebi, out of the top 3, is closest to his opponent in the form of Ladmine. Ladmine definitely dropping off a lot of time in this race. They're obviously not comfortable in the wet. Possibly he did not realize it was going to rain for the race and may have a dry setup, which can lead to a lot of trouble. Especially when there are puddles on the track, and with the rain being as hard as it is, there are definitely going to be puddles. We have Aphrodox, it looks like, spinning in the 3rd sector, so that's not a great race for him already. I'm sure he'll be kicking himself for that, but we'll get underway again without too much trouble. Let's see if he pops into the pits. No, it looks like he is going far past, so obviously no damage for him. That is good to see. So back up here at front, G-Funk with the fastest lap of the race, 1:19.481. So early it doesn't really mean much to about the fastest lap point at the end of the race. However, at the same time, it does mean that he is catching up to Aphrodox in front of him, especially with Aphrodox's moment. Marcus and Gur have just traded places coming through into the 2nd sector. It looks like Gur has lost another place as well as Sketchy gets past him. Aphrodox has now DNF'd. That is not a great place to come off. Almost straight there, so I wonder if he maybe overdid the corner 5, maybe hit the wall and decided to pull over and pit from there. G-Funk, drive-through penalty, speeding under the VSC. So there is our first virtual safety car violation, and those are terrible to take, especially here in Interlagos, where the pit lane is so long and the pit straight is so fast. So that will be a horrible penalty to have to take for G-Funk. So as the virtual safety car leads everyone around, it neutralizes the race, and so no one can gain or lose time in theory. But if people do try and get a little bit too hot on the on their accelerator, they will get a penalty, as you just saw. That was that was Sebi and Venom coming together, coming onto the pit straight. So that is really unfortunate that they've come together, but both of them managing to stay on the track. Venom having to back out going into turn one. So that is still Sebi's lead, but Venom is going to try again. It looks like he is close enough to get the slipstream here, pushing down towards turn 4. Looks at the inside but decides better of it. Further back we have KQ getting past Madness, so he is not having the greatest race, but I'm sure he will be trying to build on the little bit of a start that he's gotten and keep himself out of Madness's hands. Madness breaks a little bit earlier and goes a little wide, so that will definitely help KQ get a little bit ahead. Kixie now getting a 3-second penalty for track limits. Sebi close behind Ladmine will be getting dirty air, but also will likely be able to get a good slipstream out of the final corner. We have another penalty, this time for Kixie. No, that wasn't for Kixie. It looked like it. Oh, G-Funk has now retired coming out of the pits. I do believe he may have found how tricky and windy that pit lane actually is. It is a nightmare to try and drive in the dry, and it's even worse in the wet. So let's see, on board with Humid. No, G-Funk is in the middle of the track, so I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I did think he was in the pits. I don't know if he's maybe glitched out into the track or what's happening, but that is unfortunate for G-Funk. And that is the end of his race. So we are now under a full safety car here in lap number 7 of 36. 29 laps still to go, and the first of our safety cars. So as the pack starts to bunch up, we have Potty at way on at the back, currently crossing the start-finish straight. So he still has to pick up the pace and get back to the end of the safety car line before it can come in. If he does take too long, the safety car will come in without waiting for him. But he is likely to. He should be able to catch this lap, as assuming he doesn't have any moments. So while we go around once again with the safety car, let's have a look at who has taken advantage of the safety car periods or had to pit otherwise. We have INTJ in 9th, the highest person to pit so far. Venom in 11th, Michael 3 in 12th, Gur in 13th, Gur just coming out of the pits now, and Potty in 14th. Potty has not pitted under the safety car, I don't think. I think he pitted previously. So that means that those guys will be trying to push those intermediates all the way to the end, or at least until it dries up, if it does at all. That will be the idea. However, if they manage to do that or not, I'm not sure. The safety car is no longer leading the pack for me. Which is very, very, very strange. Very strange. I am going to try and drop and rejoin. I'm sorry for this technical issue, as it looks like we have some sort of desync. The safety car has actually come to a stop on the track, so let's go and see what's happening. We will be back shortly. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I believe we are back with the session live. Hopefully this is correct. We are 9 laps in. The guys are quite spread out. I'm not sure what's happening with that, although it does look like we are getting underway. Humid takes the restart nice and quickly. Looks like there is quite a battle in the back, so we joined at just the right time. The Red Bulls side by side through here. That's Moss and Kixie side by side through the center S's. It is very difficult to do that, especially in the wet. It looks like one of them has backed off now. Sebi right behind Ladmine, and going deeper into turn 4, let's see if he makes it through. He does leave space on the outside, so that is a clean overtake. Ladmine keeping his position on the outside of the track. That should be fine. He did not seem to gain an unfair advantage, so Sebi getting a much better restart than Ladmine. Moss in 4th, Kixie in 5th, Marcus in 6th, Sketchy in 7th, Venom in 8th, KQ Microstatic up into 9th, and IMTJ in 10th. Michael Fury, Gur, Potty, and Mandus bring up the last 4. Humid is still leading the race with a 1.2 second lead over Sebi, so Sebi has actually managed to make the most of this. Let's see if he can keep up with Humid as Humid tries to put some distance between himself and the pack. At the back we have Potty and Madness. Still trying to catch up to the pack, so they were not able to take advantage of the safety car. Sketchy getting a 3-second penalty for track limits. So as we stand, we have Sebi actually catching up to Humid on that last race, on that last lap. So Sebi definitely a little bit quicker than Humid in the wet, although Humid is definitely trying to push it down the straights. I have to wonder if he has a lower downforce setup, and so he is getting a lot of time on the straights, but then losing it through the windy sections of the track. That would not be entirely surprising. So as we come into the windy section, let's see what Sebi can do to catch up a little bit. 1.2 seconds, almost 1.3 seconds ahead going into the sector 2. As they get to the end and onto the pit straight, let's see what that gap is looking like. Ladmine already a second behind Sebi, so struggling a little bit in these conditions. Moss 1.2 seconds behind him, Kixie 2 seconds behind them. Sketchy only 3/10 or 4/10 now almost behind Kixie, so that is definitely going to be a move at some point in the near future, possibly on this run down the pit straight. So we will follow Sketchy Dude down the pit straight, chasing Kixie, getting right up close to keep that that slipstream, getting to the outside of the corners, down towards the pit straight. This is very close racing. This is very great to see. Let's see who breaks later. Kixie squeezing Sketchy a little bit, but that was perfectly legal. It didn't look like there was any real contact there, so Sketchy will have to wait until the back straight to try again into turn 4. That Alpine is so close to the Red Bull, pulls to the right hand side, the two of them almost side by side, but Sketchy deciding the inside line looks a little bit better. A little bit of contact between the two of them it looked like, but Sketchy still behind. So Kixie fighting hard with that Red Bull, possibly a little bit of contact there, but it didn't look too bad. Marcus now gets a 3-second penalty for track limits, and it looks like he has actually gone off the track entirely. That did look like he was racing wheel to wheel with someone else, so I wonder if there was a little bit of contact there. But he is now dropped down to 12th position and quite far off the back of the pack. It looks like everyone is backing up a little bit more. INTJ now just behind his teammate KQ Microstatic. Let's hope that he can avoid contact with his teammate. KQ has had some bad luck recently with contact with other people, so let's hope that he doesn't have that bad luck here again. Sebi has gotten ahead of Humid at the front of the race. However, Humid has just gotten the fastest lap as well, as IMTJ gets past KQ Microstatic and keeps the position going into the center S's. However, Venom is now looking at the back end of KQ Microstatic to see whether he can make an opportunistic pass as well. So let's see what they do. KQ getting off the racing line to not give as much of a slipstream to Venom, and it seems to have worked. Venom backing off a little bit. In the meantime, INTJ and KQ Microstatic have gotten past Sketchy Dude. I wonder what's happening with Sketchy that's dropping him back so badly. Venom now looking at it as well, but not taking the position yet. Going into the next corner, however, he has a look. Sketchy goes quite deep, but manages to keep the position as they go into turn number 9. So lots of battling here in the midfield, as out front Sebi has built a 5/10, 6/10 lead over Humid. So let's keep with the battle in the middle. IMTJ now only 3/10 off Kixie as they come onto the pit straight. Let's see what they can do. Looks towards the inside but decides better of it. Let's see. Chases down towards the start-finish line. Sketchy Dude in the meantime is looking to pass KQ Microstatic, goes to the outside. IMTJ not making the move on Kixie just yet. Sketchy Dude getting around the outside of KQ Microstatic, the two of them trading places, and that looked a little bit like a slide by Sketchy Dude, and that has brought Venom right into play. And oh no, that is not what you want to see. Venom and Sketchy Dude coming together as they try and fight each other and going into the wall. Both of them seem to have lost their front wing, and that means, oh, that is a full safety car. So the damage, obviously enough to put enough debris onto the track to bring out the full safety car. And that is really unfortunate for the two of them. They're having a great battle. Obviously, there was a little bit of loss of awareness, and that led to the two of them coming together and just being dragged into the wall by the wet and the physics of the game. So Venom and that Sketchy Dude probably both racing with massive wing damage. Venom definitely lost his entire front wing. Sketchy lost the left front end plate, but that means that he has got quite a bit of damage as well, and especially on Interlagos you do not want that sort of damage, and in the wet even less. So as we stand, we have Sebi and Humid going into the pits at the moment, both of them getting time penalties for speeding in the pit lane, it looked like. Sebi and Humid into the pits, Ladmine as well, Moss and IMTJ and KQ Microstatic and pretty much everyone going into the pits except for Kixie and Michael Faree. So Kixie and Michael Faree deciding to stay out. Let's see what tires they actually have. Kixie has old tires, Michael Faree has pit once before, so that could explain why Michael has not gone in. But why would Kixie have not gone in for the cheap pit stop? Possibly worried that his teammate would end up with a slow stop, and so he would definitely have had to take that into account. However, the Ferraris did actually go in one after the other, and they do not seem to have separated, so it worked out for them. It may have worked out for the Red Bulls, but we will never know. Kixie will have to pit at some point still in the future. So as we stand, we have Kixie out in front, 14-lap-old intermediate tires. Michael Faree in second with 7-lap-old intermediate tires. Everyone from Sebi through to Sketchy are on fresh intermediate tires. Madness 5 laps old, Marcus 1 lap old, and Potty on fresh tires as well. As far as the penalties are concerned, we have a couple of big ones. We have 3 seconds for Kixie out in front. That was obviously track limits. Michael Free managing to keep himself clean. Sebi and Humid both with speeding in the pit lanes infractions. Humid also having a 3 second for track limits. Ladmine clean, Moss clean. IMTJ 5 seconds. I imagine that was speeding in the pit lane as well. And then Sketchy, Madness, and Marcus at the back. They have track limits warnings. Potty looks like he may have sped in the pit lane as well. So that was an interesting line into the pits by IMTJ, and that looked like Humid in front of him. Humid serving his penalty and getting fresh tires on again, but that drops him all the way down to 12th. So I wonder what the thought process was there. So we have a completely changed grid as well. Kixie out in front, then Michael, Sebi, Ladmine, and Moss in our top 5. KQ Microstatic, having fought his way back up from the back, is now up to 6th already. Venom in 7th, Gur in 8th, Sketchy Dude 9th, and his teammate in 10th in the form of Madness. Humid in 11th, IMTJ in 12th, Potty in 13th, and Marcus in 14th, running at the back of the grid and quite far off the train. The safety car will probably go around at least one more time with how separated those guys at the back are, but we should only get one more lap under the safety car, if at all. So only Kixie not having pitted so far. Whether that will come back to bite them later on, or whether this is the right choice and they're going, oh, safety car in this lap, so it has obviously decided that Marcus is close enough and it's been out long enough. So let's see how they go on the restart. So we will follow Ladmine, or Sebi, through this restart. He had a very good restart last time, so let's see if he can do the same this time. As they come onto the pit straight, Kixie is backing them up quite heavily. Obviously, the best way to take this this pit straight is to actually wait until the line to accelerate. Otherwise, everyone else can get a better slipstream on you, and that leads to overtaking opportunities on the restart into turn 1. Kixie getting away very nicely, getting a half a second gap over Michael Free. Sebi getting right on top of Michael Free, almost touching there. So that was incredible. There is a Red Bull in the background. That looks like Moss and KQ Microstatic fighting each other through the center S's. Looks like Madness did not get a great restart, and Humid has immediately gotten past him. KQ is looking at the inside of Moss, so let's go back and see as they go into turn 4. The infamous turn 4 at this point. Doesn't go for it, but that has put Venom into play right behind him, so that is not great from his point of view, but into the second sector, and he seems to be holding his position. Venom does seem to be pulling back a little bit. So once again in the midfield, everyone is fighting quite hard. IMTJ has dropped back one position again against Potty. Potty is trying to make it stick, and looks like he has managed to make it stick now. So lots of movement all the way up the field, and this is always great to see for us spectators. It must be stressful as anything for the racers themselves. In the meantime, Michael Faree is showing what Fresh Rubber can do just behind Kixie, although he gets a little bit of a wheel spin there, or a little bit of understeer out of that final corner, and that is going to put him into striking range of Sebi, who, if only we could see forward, is right alongside Michael Faree going into the braking zone. The two of them going side by side into the center S's. This will be giving Kixie a little bit of breathing room. Michael Faree keeps the position as Sebi decides to back out, but that's now put him in line for Ladmine on the back straight. So let's see if Ladmine can actually do something here without any sort of contact. Michael Faree weaving a little bit to break the slipstream, but everyone weaving behind him, and the snake is strong. So as we get through our second lap without the safety car in front of us, we have Kixie still out in front, Michael Free in second, Sebi in third, Humid and Sketchy Dude fighting in the background while I'm speaking. Humid trying to get past Sketchy and does manage to get past Sketchy. plows into the Aston Martin there. That was a pretty dangerous move, and he does get spun a little bit via Venom. I don't know if that was a little bit of frustration or if that was just the cars moving around each other in such a way that it was unavoidable. So we have Sebi still in third, Ladmine in fourth, but trying to change that as they go onto the pit straight. Moss in fifth, KQ Microstatic in sixth. I imagine he will be quite happy not to be in any of the fights at the moment, as Michael Fury and Sebi trade places. Sebi up to second now as he gets past Michael Fury into the braking zone of turn one. Ladmine still in fourth. IMTJ and Madness trading places in the background. As we go down towards turn 4, Kixie trying a very violent jink towards the inside to cover the corner, but Sebi has managed to stay close, did have to back out a little bit, and that has led Michael Free to be right alongside him going into the second sector through turns 6 and towards 7. Not a great place to pass, so Michael does drop back a little bit and give himself some breathing room, but the moment he gets breathing room from the front, he has Landmine on the back. Venom has now spun out of turn 8, and it looks like he is back on track. In the meantime, Sebi and Kixie trade position, and Michael Free gets spun. That I look away for a second and miss it. But there we have it. This race can change so quickly, especially with wet conditions. The slightest contact can cause a spin, and I think that may have been what happened, especially with Kixie and his older tires. Landmine now looking to take the position going into turn 1, and looks like Kixie has had to take to the runoff because of those older tires. Pushes Landmine onto the curbs there. That is definitely going to be investigated after the session. Gives Moss the position over Landmine, so that is not great to see. Ironically, it is between a Red Bull and a Mercedes, but there you have it. So Kixie pushing Landmine off and keeping the position. Landmine having to fight once again to try and get up to that position. Moss and KQ Microstatic busy trading places in the background as they go through the windy second section into turn number 9 up towards 10. This track is one of those ones where they don't count the weird kinks all over the place, and they go through 10. There is contact there, but they are fighting side by side. They are still side by side despite going through the windy section of the track. Going down towards Marcus has retired in the background. Hopefully that does not lead to a safety car. There is the safety car. So did KQ get ahead of Moss just before the safety car? I do believe he did, so he should be able to keep that position and relax a little bit out in front of his opponent. So we have a whole bunch of people going into the pits, Kixie being one of them, and speeding in the pit lane. That is not what he would have wanted to see when he went into the pit lane there. So lots of people, or just a couple of people popping into the pit this time. Kixie and Sebi are the two, and so that has changed the order once again. We have Ladmine out in front, KQ Microstatic all the way up to second after that initial incident that put him at the back of the race. Moss in third, losing that position just before the safety car came out. Terrible timing for him, but good timing for KQ Microstatic, and a good battle that led to that. A little bit of contact, so I'm sure there will be some speaking to them after the race, but nevertheless, a brilliant bit of racing between the two of them. Sketchy Dude in fourth, Humid in fifth. His strategy calls not necessarily putting him in the greatest place at the moment, but we still have 15 laps to go, and that is not a bad place to be with 15 laps to go. IMTJ in 6th, Gur in 7th, Potty in 8th, Venom in 9th, Kixie in 10th, all the way down there after his pit stop under this safety car. Sebi down 11th. Michael Fury, after having that spin on the the couple of laps previously, all the way down in 12th. Really unfortunate for him. Madness in 13th. Marcus the latest DNF, and that is really unfortunate for him, as this was his last race of the season. So interestingly, we have had Madness retire now as well. I think he may have had a little bit of a moment coming through the twisty back session, and down out of 9 there is very little traction coming out of 9 in the first place, and with the wet it is even more difficult, and with the cold it would probably be even worse. So Madness, the latest to retire. Hopefully it doesn't affect the safety car too much, but with so many laps around this track, 36 with our 50% distance. Oh, the safety car is once again ghosting all over the place. It does look like that time it wasn't just me, it may have been a safety car issue. Possibly with a couple of people leaving that just left, it may have desynced the safety car a little bit. So as we stand, we have Ladmine up in first, KQ Microstatic now in second place, Moss in third, That Sketchy Dude in fourth, Humid in fifth, IMTJ in sixth, Gur in seventh, Potty in eighth, Venom in ninth, Kixie in 10th, Michael Free in 11th, and Sebi in 12th. Now that that's out of the way, let's get going once again. So we're going to watch this one from Humid this time. He has not had great restarts, but he should have a good view of what's happening in front of him. Ladmine backing up the pack a little bit, but not nearly as much as he could. Obviously trying to get some heat into those tires. Sketchy Dude weaving a little bit as well. Humid getting a very good release there, getting right alongside Sketchy Dude. Let's see how this goes. Sketchy turns in a little bit. Humid and Sketchy Dude come together. Sketchy managing to keep position, so that was a good move by Sketchy. Unfortunately, we had who was that? That was Moss going off at turn 1 and not managing to get it slowed down. So Moss dropping all the way to 12th as the others do get through without too much incident. A little bit of barging, a little bit of argy-bargy, but that's not too bad. We have Kixie now, the other Red Bull, having an issue and spinning out of turn 4. And that has led to a retirement there. Let's hope that's not another safety car. It doesn't look like it is. Just the yellow flag for this time. So we are down to 11 people left. This is going to be a race of attrition with still 13 laps to go. Landmine out in first, KQ Microstatic in second, That Sketchy Dude in third, Humid right on top of him in fourth. Definitely going to be looking at a move down the pit straight. IMTJ in fifth, Gur in sixth, Potty in seventh, quite close to Gur in front of him. Venom in 8th, quite close to Potty, but not as close as Potty is to Gur. Michael Free in 9th, Sebi in 10th, and Moss in 11th. Sebi looking to make a pass on Michael Free as well. Ladmine gets the fastest lap of the race, so obviously finding his groove in this in these wet conditions and trying to pull a gap between him and KQ Microstatic. And it does look like it's working fairly well. Humid now 3/10 behind Sketchy still. So still looking at making that pass, but not quite getting close enough. Sketchy does lag a little bit backwards there. I wonder if that's caused a little bit of damage. Doesn't look like it's done too much damage to Humid's wing, but Humid very close to Sketchy there. And I'm sure he will be desperate to get past him as quickly as possible. Potty getting passed by Seb in the background as they go into the windy second sector. Potty does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits as well. So bad news on top of bad news for him there. At the top of the race, we have Ladmine, KQ, Sketchy Dude, and Humid, all with time penalties. So IMTJ just needs to stay within range of them to actually get a very good finish as Humid comes onto the pit straight. For a moment there was 2/10 behind Sketchy, so let's see if he can make a pass this time. Does not look like he is that close, but might have some a better break into turn 1. Let's see what he can do. Stays behind Sketchy Dude, obviously not thinking better of it for now. Sketchy might be dumping a lot of energy, and that might be what's keeping Humid behind, especially with Humid getting that Humid gets a massive moment coming out of the Senna S's out of turn 3, and that puts him a little bit further back, but not far enough for the Sketchy to actually take a breather. Venom in the meantime is right on top of Gur, so let's see what they can do as they come through turn 5 and up towards turns 6 and 7. Venom looking at the inside, not able to do anything this time, and Sebi is now on top of him as well, so he's going to be having to watch forward as well as backwards and everywhere else. Gur not getting a great release into turn 9, and that pushes him back, but Venom unable to make the move, and that leads to that's very close. Venom barging his way through and getting through without pushing anyone out, so that might be contested, but looked like it was fairly clean, but that has put him right into play for Sebi. So Sebi is going to be the next person to try and make a pass. He managed to get through behind Venom as Venom went past Gur, and he is Venom getting a track limits warning there. So Sebi looking at the inside of Venom. Let's see how they do through turn 1. Sebi gets past a good amount of traction through there, and he is now through. Back up at the front, Sketchy and Humid have actually traded positions, and looks like they may have traded back as well. I did see them change positions. IMTJ is now 1.2 seconds behind. Let's see what that looks like as the leader gap. He is 3.5 seconds behind. So when we look at the penalties, everyone above him does have 3-second penalties, so anyone less than 3 seconds ahead of him will drop back. So currently he is running in a net second in that position, a little bit off the front pack. So if he can keep up with them, he can get a very, very good finishing position. Fastest laps, we have Ladmine at the top of the 1:17.159. In the meantime, we have Sketchy making it past KQ Microstatics. So that obviously just happening 3 wide now as Humid joins the battle as well as they head down towards turn 1. This is going to end in tears, and it doesn't. All 3 of them managing to get through, but KQ does lose a lot of time, and it puts him right into range of his teammate. I wonder if they will swap places or whether they will stay in formation. IMTJ right on top of KQ Microstatic, but not pulling up beside him. So I wonder if that was a conscious decision, with KQ being a little bit faster than him, and so that they can try and chase down those guys out in front. IMTJ obviously does not need the track position, as long as KQ can get after those guys in front as quickly as possible, because TJ does have that penalty advantage. Ladmine is now pulling away out in front, 2.4 seconds ahead of that Sketchy dude. So that moment between the three in second, third, and fourth did give Ladmine a comfortable lead here in lap 27. 9 laps to go, so still a while to go. A lot can happen. There could be another safety car, and as I say that, Putty goes off. He does not look like he's got too much damage, but there is a Red Bull coming up right behind him. Moss gets through without any problems. Landmine gets another fastest lap. TJ and Microstatic have swapped positions now, so looks like TJ thought that he can do better chasing after the leaders, and let's see what they do. Sebi now gets the fastest lap, and Venom gets into the pits and gets another penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So many penalties for speeding into the pit lane. Obviously, with these intermediate tires, there are not a lot of them that they have access to, so if you pit too many times, you do end up recycling tires. So let's see how many stops. Venom has had 3 stops, so I'm fairly sure he is actually onto a recycled pair of tires now. Sebi will also be on a recycled pair of tires, and IMTJ as well. So all 3 of those will be on tires that had at the beginning of their stint done a little bit of track mileage, which is really unfortunate for them. But let's see how it plays out towards the end of the lap. As we stand, Sebi and Michael Free have the newest tires outside of Venom and Putty. Venom actually not having run those tires before, so I wonder if he just did an outlap on them and then went back in. So Sebi and Michael Free with the newest tires, 5 and 7 laps. And we have a yellow flag for the Red Bull, but it doesn't seem like there were any real problems. That may have just been running off into the runoff. Humid is right behind Sketchy Dude still, trying to make a dent in that lead. 5/10 behind, but not getting quite into the slipstream as deeply as he possibly could. So obviously thinking a little bit better of slipstreaming too hard. These tires will be starting to get stressed a little bit and wear down a lot more than you would want. Worn down intermediates, especially when it is still raining, are not fun to try and run. So Landmine out in front with a 3-second lead over that Sketchy Dude. Then Sketchy Dude only 5/10 ahead of Humid, now up to 7th for a moment. IMTJ behind them, 1.5 seconds off. KQ Microstatic, a second off his teammate after having run so hard. He may have worn out his tires a little bit more than his teammate and is hoping that his teammate will pull him forward with the slipstreams, but that gap is getting to the point where the slipstream is not going to be nearly as strong as he would hope. Sebi in 6th place, Michael Free in 7th after that questionable pit call. Gur in 8th, Moss in 9th, Venom in 10th, and Potty is running in last place at the moment, or the last of the finishers. That is 11th. If one more person retires, everyone will score points. So Potty just needs to keep it on the track as he goes off once again. So Potty not having the greatest race in the rain, especially in that second sector. As we go back to Humid, still 4/10 behind Sketchy Dude as they go around into the windy second section of 6 through 11. Humid will be trying to get close, but not too close that the dirty air makes it impossible to follow. So that out of the final corner at turn 12, he will be able to get onto that pit stretch and get after his opponent as quickly as possible. Technically 12 isn't the final corner, there is still those sort of kinks of 13, 14 and 15, but in a Formula 1 car it is essentially flat. And so you don't really notice them as you're gearing up towards this final little push over the start finish line. So Humid, unfortunately not as close as he would have liked again, however he is looking at getting a wider line into turn 1 than his opponent, and that will put him a little bit closer and possibly into range on the second second of the DRS zone. Sebi is now catching quite quickly with another fastest lap, catching up to KQ Microstatic, that fastest lap being a 1:16.817, so a really fast lap, especially considering the second fastest lap. It's a 1:16.976 by Ladmine, so not as fast as I thought, but definitely will be something for KQ to think of, as Sebi now gets into the 3/10 range of KQ Microstatic. Sebi obviously does not have a penalty as well, so IMTJ and Sebi the only ones on the track so far without a penalty. So let's go across to the penalties and leave that up for the last 5 laps of the race. We have Landmine in front with a 3-second penalty. That will be cancelled out as Sketchy Dude also has a 3-second penalty. And that will be cancelled out because Humid also has a 3-second penalty. But Humid is less than 3 seconds behind Sketchy Dude. And IMTJ is less than 3 seconds behind the two of them. So IMTJ will still be going up to second if they finish in the order they are at the moment and without IMTJ losing any more time on his opponents. KQ Microstatic and Sebi look like they're going side by side through the Senna's S's, and Sebi comes out in front as they go onto the straight out of turn 3. Sebi trying to break the slipstream there. KQ Microstatic does look like he may have dropped back a little bit and decided to just give that position up. He may be running a little bit low on energy, and it makes it very difficult for him to fight. In the meantime, Humid has decided he is tired of waiting and goes side by side with that Sketchy Dude as they go into the middle section of the track. And manages to make the pass through turn 8. So that was a good pass there. A little bit of contact, but I think that it was clean enough as far as the rules are concerned. So Humid taking that position and getting ahead of that Sketchy Dude, and will now be looking at trying to hunt down Landmine. Although only 4 laps to go, he would have to make almost 1.1 second per lap to try and pick up Landmine out in front. It's not impossible, but is going to be a very tall order on older tires. Sketchy Dude does look like he has pulled back a little bit, and that is Kixie. No, that is Moss, who has now spun in the Red Bull. That is really unfortunate. Not having a good race in general, has to cut a large part of the track. Doesn't get insult added to injury as he gets back onto track. Michael Free going into the pits once again, possibly looking to get that fastest lap on some fresher tires. Puts on the soft tires, so we're going to follow him around as this might not be long. So Michael Free going onto the soft tires, obviously thinking that the track is drying enough to merit that, but we will see soon as Putty once again spins out in the second sector. Michael weaving a tiny little bit to try and get some temperature into those tires. Doesn't seem to be sliding around too much, so possibly the right decision. Maybe the inters have moved enough of that of the water off the racing line for this to be a safe option, but let's see how he goes with 2 laps remaining. If he can steal that fastest lap, goes very wide around that corner. I don't think this is going to work out for him, as Sebi goes even faster with a 1:16.759. Guys out in front, Sebi looking at IMTJ now to see whether he can get past there. Heading down towards turn 4, looks like he does have a little bit of a look, but decides better of it and stays behind IMTJ for now as they go through 5 and up into sector 2. So as they, looks like there is going to be pass into this corner once again. Looks like IMTJ slowing down a little bit more than he may have needed to try and give himself some breathing room. Sebi still right on top of that Ferrari gearbox. Sebi taking a lot of curb on the inside there, losing a little bit of time as he does so and can't get the power down as early. But coming up towards the final real corner of the track, he is 4/10 behind, carries a little bit less speed through there, so I don't think he's going to be able to catch IMTJ for now. Let's follow Michael Free. Looks like he may have gone off a little bit there. That looked like a runoff that I saw as he goes around turn 8 now and into 9. Doesn't look like he's, as I said, it doesn't look like he's sliding around too much, but definitely doesn't look comfortable either. Little bit of a squirrel on the exit there. Sebi looking down the back straight, does not manage to get IMTJ this lap either, and goes very wide and gets a 3-second penalty for his trouble. So IMTJ has at the very least secured his position, and Sebi has thrown away a potential climb through the penalties that are going to be applied to everyone else. That is really unfortunate from his side. We have 1 lap to go after this. He could have been a little bit more patient and waited until a better position, but that is unfortunate. That is one of the risks of trying an overtake, especially in the wet and through turn 4, as we saw at the race last time out. So Sebi coming onto the pit straight. That looks like Michael has finally had his moment that we thought was going to come. Sebi still quite far behind IMTJ as far as on the track is concerned, but the time says something different as they go into turn 1. Let's see whether Sebi can stay close enough to make a move down into turn 4. Does look like he is very close and staying there with IMTJ, but this run is not as long as it looks, and IMTJ getting off the racing line just to break the slipstream a little bit of a lag there, but not enough for Sebi to get alongside. So this will be one of the final chances to pass through this section. So close here. Looks to the outside, looks to get a better run into turn number 9. Does indeed, and looks at the outside. Let's see what he can do. Cuts back onto the inside of IMTJ, and there is contact, and that has sent Sebi into That is such a great save. That was brilliant to sit on top of, but it has given Humid the opportunity to get alongside and get up into third place. So Sebi managing to save it from the walls there. Humid pushing IMTJ off as the two of them fight. IMTJ pushing really hard to try and keep that position. Humid dropping back into fifth. Sebi keeping that position. Landmine has now crossed the finish line. Sketchy Dude crosses in second. Sebi will be crossing in third. KQ Microstatic in fourth, Humid in fifth, IMTJ crosses the line in sixth, only goes up one position, not close enough to the guys ahead of him to get further up. KQ Microstatic finishing in fourth, so out of nowhere he does seem to have made up a whole bunch of positions. Gur coming in seventh with 3 seconds of penalty, so he shouldn't move anywhere. Venom sitting on 11 seconds of penalty, so it will be interesting to see where he drops down to. Let's see what Moss can do, if he managed to make up enough time to catch up there at all. Crosses the line, stays in ninth, so unfortunately not. Michael Free on his soft tires is still making his way around and is somehow not last. So brilliant move there to go onto the softs. He had nothing to lose, and well, I guess he had something to lose, but he had very little to lose there. Spins and does a little donut for us. Gets back underway, so hopefully he will make it all. Nope, there is another drift, doesn't manage to hold it. So let's watch as he tries to get to the start finish line. This was what I was expecting earlier, so he did great to hold it as long as he did, but obviously the track didn't dry up as much as he was hoping. And there's another spin. At this point he may as well be a ballerina. Sketchy getting a 20-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I don't understand that. So Michael's still trying to make his way to the line. Might actually run out of time. There is a minute left for him to get to the start-finish line. He is on the pit straight, so he has hope, but I think at this point he's busy messing around as well on those soft tires. Obviously, there is no traction on those things in the wet, and the track's just too wet for him to actually make it to go forward for any decent length of time. And crosses the finish line in 10th position. Well done, Michael, for trying it. We never would have known how bad it was otherwise. So, driver of the day is Gur. Well done to him in the Alpha Tauri. And let's see how the standings look after all those penalties are applied. We have Ladmine winning the race. Sebi coming in second. KQ Microstatic in third, another good performance by him. IMTJ in fourth, Humid in fifth, Sketchy in sixth after all those penalties. Gur in seventh, Venom in eighth, Moss in ninth, Michael Free in 10th, and Botti, the last of the finishers, in 11th place. Kixie, Madness, Marcus, G-Funk and Afrodox, and Alicia, unfortunately, DNFs. So, that brings to an end our year. We will be back in the new year with the final 3 rounds. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.